Okay, perfect. Thank you so much,
Sure.
IT. And
Sure.
so we will begin with the people on in person. And I will read a few things before we switch to people on Zoom. So good evening or afternoon, I guess. Thank you for joining us today. And I'm pleased to welcome you on behalf of the task force. Today's session is being held in a hybrid format in both in person and over Zoom. We will begin with in-person attendees in the other order that they signed up, and then we will switch to viewers on Zoom. For the people on Zoom, this is an open mic style forum for community members to share their thoughts with us, and participants will be called on in the order they raise their hands. So yeah, please use your raise hand feature on Zoom, and when it's your turn, you will when it's your turn, you'll be promoted to a speaker and given 3 minutes to speak. A timer will be running to help us stay on schedule. Just a heads up, the people on Zoom will hear the music. We won't, because we couldn't get it to play in the room. So just a heads up. So this is a listening session, which means that the task force will not be responding or engaging in discussion. Our role tonight is simply to listen to your input. And we will end the listening session at 5 p.m. If there are still people who haven't had the chance to speak by then, please attend the upcoming listening session on October 14th as well. So I have flyers for that event here as well. And finally, if you prefer to share your thoughts another way, we encourage you to fill out the public input form or email any task force member directly. Those options remain open and welcome. I have flyers for that here as well. And with that, thank you for being here. We are ready to begin. And if you have not done so already and you would like to share a public comment, raise your hand and we will promote you to a speaker and also sign up here. But I think everybody's signed up. Okay, perfect. So let's begin with Christopher Patchkey from Lafayette Street in Salem. And there's the timer there for help us stay on track.
Great. Good evening. I'd like to acknowledge the contributions of E.J. Joyce and Michael Feener, who have provided factual information directly related to the city seal. I tried to provide factual content to the discussion through written public comment. That public comment was censored, and it took me 2 weeks of correspondence with the city solicitor to get that corrected. Material presented by others on the task force is biased, misleading propaganda, completely irrelevant to the city seal. They rely on false equivalencies, race baiting, misinterpretations, and at times lies. The tone of these presentations is deranged. To bolster this propaganda, people who have raised objection to it or have questioned it have been slandered as racist. This is the typical abuse we see when anyone in Salem raises concern or protests the factual basis for a city initiative. Bias was present even before the task force met. Excerpts from the alternate members' home cover letters showed that there were already misconceptions about the seal, accusations of racism, and an explicit desire to change the seal. At the first meeting, it needed to be clarified that the task force was not meeting to redesign the seal, but to fact-find and determine a proposed direction. Many Salem residents think the decision to change the seal was preordained, and that this task force was packed with members inclined to do so. I say with certainty, intentionally stereotypical imagery has nothing to do with the seal. Children's book illustrations have nothing to do with the seal. Advertising images have nothing to do with the seal. The Confederate flag has nothing to do with the seal. Chattel slavery has nothing to do with the seal. The Chinese Exclusion Act has nothing to do with the seal. European artists' use of Orientalism has nothing to do with the seal. And the till has nothing to do with the seal. Mascots have nothing to do with the seal. Imperialism has nothing to do with the seal. Circus parades and freak shows have nothing to do with the seal. Fetishized women have nothing to do with the seal. Being called a banana has nothing to do with the seal. Contemporary issues of Asian hate have nothing to do with the seal. The punishment of school-age children has nothing to do with the seal. Apartment hunting has nothing to do with the seal. Crazy Rich Asians, A Christmas Story, 16 Candles, and Breakfast at Tiffany's have nothing to do with the seal. Skin whitening products have nothing to do with the seal. Calling Chinese food has nothing to do with the seal. Lynching postcards have nothing to do with the seal. As a gay man myself, contemporary allegations of homophobia in Aceh have nothing to do with the seal. But all of these issues have been used as propaganda to change our seal. In the 19th century, a majority white community chose to honor a minority Asian culture alongside which it prospered in a city seal, our city seal. This seal continues to serve as an aspiration for us in 2025, and it should not change. I also find it very ironic that some of the members of this task force come from majority Asian cultures, and they're trying to erase a minority Asian culture. In a city that prides itself on diversity, the fact that majority cultures are trying to erase minority cultures that are being honored in our city seal is inconceivable. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Prince. Okay, and next up, we have Elizabeth Pageant from Chestnut Street in Salem.
Hello.
Hello.
People who are visiting Salem or who don't know our history often assume that the city's reputation for openness and tolerance is the outcome of a decade or two of progressive politics that's a relatively new imperative. And frankly, that's not an unreasonable assumption when we've allowed the witch trials to dominate our historical identity. But the city seal tells a different story. It reminds us that the spirit of cooperation and mutual regard is who we are, who we have been for almost 3 centuries now. The city seal demonstrates something even greater than mere tolerance. It demonstrates honor, respect. It recognizes that great things can happen when we work together for our mutual benefit. It underscores all that with the image of a dove, the symbol of peace. That's a lesson our city needs to learn again right now. More importantly, it's a message the world needs to learn again. The supreme irony is that we are here today, just 2 days after the mayor announced a partnership between the city and UNICEF. He's right to celebrate the spirit of international cooperation. But let's face it, what we really have is a partnership between 2 bureaucracies. This task force has the opportunity to give that gesture real meaning. You have the opportunity to do something extraordinary, so extraordinary that I can even imagine that it itself would become a national story. And only you can do it because collectively, to be very honest, you are not a monolithic group of white men sitting on a panel in judgment. You can vote to keep the seal. Let's face it, replacing historical seals these days is old news. And maybe no one outside this room or this Zoom call will care much. But you can do something with this moment that will make people pay attention. You can let the seal stand as the literal personification of the spirit of international cooperation. Our country needs to hear that. The world needs to hear that. And yes, the seal is about who we were at the time of its design back in 1839. But it's also about who we are now and who we want to be tomorrow. So the question is, are you up for it? Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Okay, so next up is Michael Corley from Lafayette Street in Salem.
Hi, my name is Michael Corley, 176 Lafayette Street, and I'm here as a resident of Salem. I want to share my perspective on the city seal, its connection to Aceh, and the harm of continuing to display a racist caricature in such a prominent way. Some supporters of keeping the seal unchanged have pointed to a letter from the governor of Aceh and to foreign media coverage as evidence of support. Others have even suggested Salem pursue a sister city relationship within the region. I could not disagree more with such an idea that is both absurd, offensive, and asinine. Just last month, Aceh's government publicly caned 2 young men, aged 20 and 21, right around my age, a couple years younger actually, for hugging and kissing. They were punished brutally for showing affection. Under Sharia law, Aceh allows up to 100 lashes for so-called morality offenses, including same-sex relations, or for women wearing clothing deemed too tight. Since 2015, those laws have even applied to non-Muslims. In my previous comments to the task force, I noted that not all local supporters of the seal are motivated by racism, though many of the loudest voices online clearly are. The same dynamic applies here. While not everyone in Aceh endorses these punishments, their government does. We must ask ourselves, is this the company we want to keep and what we want represented on our official city seal? Salem should not align itself with a government that treats LGBTQ people this way. To do so would be shameful and deeply at odds with our city's values of inclusivity and respect. But the problem is not just abroad, it's here at home. When people say that the caricature on your seal isn't that bad or it's just history, they're dismissing the lived experiences of Asian residents in Salem today. We know what it feels like to see our cultures reduced to stereotypes. My own mother was born in India, and I grew up seeing caricatures of people who looked like me used as symbols or jokes. It made me feel unsafe, mocked, and othered. That same harm is being repeated here with our city seal. If Salem truly wants to be a place where everyone belongs, then we need to listen to the people who live here, our Asian neighbors, our LGBTQ community, our resident, who want a city that represents them with dignity. Keeping the current seal ignores their voices, while changing it would send a clear message that Salem's values are not defined by racism or exclusion, but by inclusion and respect. For these reasons, I strongly urge the task force to recommend replacing the city seal to our city council. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. All right, so it appears that everybody who is here in person has already spoken, so we will switch to the people on Zoom. So if you're on Zoom and you would like to speak, please raise your hand and I will call on you in the order that hands are raised. So Tanya, I believe you're first, so I will promote you to a speaker in just a second. Okay, Tanya, please state your name and where you live for the record, and I'll start your timer.
My name is Tanya Rose Lane of 36.5 Buffum Street.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Tanya Rose Lane. I am formerly trained as a historian, and I make my living as a museum professional. For many years, my specialization within the field of history has been contemporary themes, which does extend to issues like the one we're speaking about today, issues of identity, visual media, and other issues of representation and identity. Now, Salem for a long time has been home to all different kinds of people, but unfortunately, the city seal as we see it now definitely does center the dominant culture in their experience. Now, back in the 1600s, the early arrived settlers from England, they would be outnumbered by many. There was about, one white person for every 15 native people. Also, those descended from African enslaved people were living here as well. And so the first thing I'd like to draw your attention to on the seal is the choice of dates. So 1626, when Salem was established as a town, and 1836, when it was established as a city. The issue with the date 1626 is it centers the white dominant culture from England. Much had happened at this place that we now call Salem prior to this time. We have stories of people literally living here from the time that the ice started to recede, and we actually have stories of before that of people living on the ice. And so while Salem now is home to all different types of people, to say that the descendants of the English are the majority is just not true. That is still the global minority. I do like on the seal that you have the dove representing the city of peace. I think that that is a nice aspiration for us to work towards. You have some other troubling images too. Of course, the man from Aceh, which is a composite character. It's not one particular person. And then the tall ship, which for many people is associated with Salem's history of enslavement, making money off the backs of enslaved people through trade, unfortunately. And so there are many elements here. Just visually, we can see this is centering the story and the experience of one particular type of person. The design in itself is from George Peabody, who had Puritan ancestors, and he's the descendant of merchants and was a ship owner himself. And so this is definitely not an inclusive city seal that includes includes many perspectives of the people who live here today. As Michael was saying, to walk past these symbols daily, I think I walked past 6 of them just walking to City Hall. This does have an effect on people psychologically. We know that bullying also, as Michael said, is a huge issue for our quote unquote minority populations. I wish I had more time. Please email me if you'd like to discuss further.
Thank you. Thank you, Tanya. Okay, so, Tanya's the only one who's raising her hand. Farley and Thomas, I see your names, or Alan from SATV. If you would like to speak, please raise your hand. Okay, Thomas, just give me 1 second. All right. Thomas, go ahead. Can you hear us?
Yes, thank you. I'll be brief. This topic did come up for discussion at our last tribal council meeting. And
Sorry, Thomas, sorry, can you please state your name and address for the record?
sorry, my name is Thomas Green, enrolled member of the Massachusetts tribe at Ponkapog. I reside at Ponkapog. And I represent the first indigenous peoples of Namkeeg, the Pawtucket. And so our tribal council did discuss this at our last tribal council meeting, and it was decided by the tribal council that we do believe this seal needs to change. However, it was referred to our public engagement committee to come up with input as to how we believe it should change and why. So I will get back to you all as soon as I have more information, but I just thought that it was important to let you know that we do believe that it should change.
Thank you, Thomas. Okay, and great, we will wait to hear from the tribe on that. Carly, I see that you're the last attendee. Would you like to speak? Carly, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. I am not sure whether or not it is appropriate for me to speak. And so I probably should have discussed with you earlier. I have personal thoughts. In this capacity, I cannot speak on behalf of the university. I do sit on the City of Salem Massachusetts Tribe Council meetings and and I work in inclusive excellence at Salem State University. I do not reside in Salem, so I think based on the nature that I would share is whether or not is why I'm hesitant. So please clarify if possible. But
So you can speak on behalf of your thoughts if you want to. You don't have to, and you don't have to be a resident of Salem to speak your thoughts. And you just have to state where you're from.
okay, sounds good. Carly, let me know when you're ready.
Yeah.
Carly Pierre, I live in Medford, Massachusetts. I work at Salem State University in the Inclusive Excellence Office. I think thinking about my personal core values and thinking about advocacy as someone who truly believe that the folks who are able to who best shape decision making are folks who can experience and uh, have lived experiences that align with the heritage of the folks who are impacted by the seal. And I think the voices that should be centered in this conversation are the folks who should be centered, um, the folks who should best advocate for the changes. I think the seal should be changed And we should center the voices of the folks who want to change the seal is what I will say. I don't know how much I should expand on this any further given my position.
Okay, thank you so much, Carly.
Thank you.
Okay, so I believe that is it. Alan, unless from SATV, unless you have any thoughts, if so, you can raise your hand now. Okay,
Can you hear me?
yes.
No, I had some technical issues off from the beginning. So, but it's all set now. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. I believe that concludes our listening session for the day.
Sure, this public.
Yeah,
meeting in
that was
history.
pretty straightforward.
Let's
That's
say
great.
they all like this.
Yeah, well, this week council can be like this.
21 minutes.
All right.
21 minutes.
Thank you, everyone. So we will go ahead and close the Zoom room, and that concludes our listening session for tonight. There is another one up coming up on October 14th, if anybody's interested on speaking one more time.
Is that in person as well?
It's hybrid. It will be hybrid.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
We're late. Thanks.
Let me end the meeting there, because some people still.
That's good.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth.
Yeah, thanks for coming out. Appreciate it.